live. Here we go. Hey, that's great. Okay. Okay. Hey, thank you so much, fuckers. Great to be here. Hong Kong. I came back from Hong Kong. Well, I've actually been very sick. Had a terrible flu. I had a terrible flu, which I picked up. And I've just been recovering. But hey, day in the life of ArchieLuxury. Well, you know, it's all about watches. So basically, look, I wake up, I talk to a few fans, then I take the kids to school, then I try and make a few vids. I got some fucking paid reviews that are backed up. I'm about a month and a half behind. I got to get my mojo back. I keep getting interrupted with phone calls and fans and just stuff. And, you know, I gotta, so then lunchtime comes around and I go to my favorite Vietnamese restaurant, come back, and I probably, you know, I should make more videos, but I talk to people, and then I got to pick the kids up. Then I try and get a few more videos done. I like to do a lot of research. I look at other channels and other interesting stuff on YouTube. Yeah, that's how it goes there. So I've actually found your channel. I found your channel before you approached me. I have actually seen your channel. Yeah, I think it's cool. It's great. It's great. Everyone's got to give it a shot. Throw the hat in the ring. You got a different market than what I'm going for, but hey, that's fine. It's all fantastic, and yeah, you got some great stuff happening. Yes. Yeah, I got 4 kids. Yeah, I got 4. I had 2 from my first marriage and 2 from my third marriage. So, well, the eldest 2 are 25 and 22. They don't live with me, thank God. And the other 2 are 11 and 12. So, yeah, they stay with me sometimes. Yes. 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 Regret buying or regret selling? Oh, fuck. That. Okay. I remember sometimes, you know, I was buying and selling watches years ago, and the worst watch deal I ever did. Fuck, was it terrible. It was a Datejust, a 1601, which had badly repainted. And I bought this watch because I was just desperate. There wasn't many watches around. This was in the late 90s. And it had a bracelet which had more stretch in it than Grandma's undies. Okay, this was a really fucked Datejust. I paid about 1,800 bucks for it. And man, I just lost money. I sold it to a guy in America who had a big fight with me about the condition. He sent it back. The only way I could get any sense of my money back was I broke it up. So I pulled the bracelet off, sold the bracelet off to some poor bastard in Canada. Fuck, I felt bad about that. But it had to be done. He was Canadian. Fair game, fair game. And then I sold the head. And that watch was a fucking... I lost... I mean, it's not a lot of money in today's terms, but I probably lost about 700, 800 bucks on it after servicing costs and all that sort of stuff. There have been so many horror stories. I had an AP. I had a few APs. I've always seemed to have trouble with APs. They always stop working and they cost a fucking fortune. APs are just trouble. I've had so many horror stories. I've had successes. Believe you me, I've had some watches that have been amazing. What watch do I regret selling? Well, that's a very simple, very, very simple question. Very simple answer. My first decent, when I turned 18, I got myself an American Express green card. And I was so naive, I didn't even realize you had to pay the bastard off every month. I thought you could like there was like a credit card, but you had, anyhow, I got myself, I said to a guy who was in the jewelry business, get me a Rolex, get me a Rolex. He got me a 1016 Explorer 1 L serial number, brand new. And I remember I put it on Amex and he wanted a little bit more for putting it on Amex. It was 1575 Australian. And I sold it. I had that watch. So that was in 1990 I got it. And then the internet, because I was always in IT, so I sort of knew about the internet and that. Then I found out it was valuable and I very foolishly sold it in the late 90s. I think 1989 I sold it. And it ended up getting stolen, but I got the money back from insurance. But I kind of very sad I let it go because I had it for so long. I had it for many milestones in my life and that there. And I regret selling it, not because of the money, but because of that was my first watch. I really that was my first Rolex, first super luxury watch, first, you know, one that really hurt. And it's kind of sad it's gone. Look, actually, look, I sold it to a guy on Time Zone, okay? Mark the Hammer, that's who I sold it to. He was he was a wheeler dealer on Time Zone. I sold it for about 7.5 Aussie, okay? And I bought a President, a day date. I bought an 18038, which I wasn't quite happy with because it wasn't perfect. I kept it for about 6 months, and then I bought a mint 18238 diamond dial. So that money became that, if you know what I mean. And then I ran into business trouble and sold it and didn't have my watch anymore. Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure. Yes. 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 Look, I've actually come full circle. Okay, at one stage I had consumer finance credit of, it was in the $80,000 range. Okay, so that was, which basically went into luxury goods. Okay, now when I say it's got to hurt, it's like anything. If you go to a casino or you go to a racetrack, if you put a $1 bet on, what's going to happen? I win $10. It doesn't feel. A gambler, unless they're risking their week's wages, it doesn't feel like gambling. You know what I mean? It's gotta hurt. Now, to Donald Trump, of course, the number of zeros on the end may be different. You know, for me, $100 or $1,000 is a lot of money, whereas for the Trumpster, that's insignificant. But I honestly do believe, decent watches, you've got to spend, you know, retail, new retail has got to be $3,000 or $4,000. You really can't buy a $500 watch and have fun with it. I think it's just... Well, I would say, look, realistically, right, the thing is this: you buy a lot of these lower end watches, you can really lose your shirt if you're not careful. You're buying retail from a store. I tell you honestly, okay, the whole thing about me is I am a value shopper. You've got to understand this. I am a huge environmentalist. I don't know if you know this, right? The whole reason I promote luxury goods and luxury items is because you buy once and you do it right. Like, you think about it, one wristwatch, you buy a Rolex or whatever you want to buy, it's a quality piece. It's not a throwaway thing. It's something that you look after, you service, you repair if something goes wrong. It's a beautiful thing. So that's really going to save resources in the long run. So this is the whole thing. The whole thing about luxury and that there is not so much that it's a snooty thing. It's a very much an environmental cause. I'm an environmentalist, and I'm saying instead of buying cheap, crappy things which you buy many, many times over and over, you buy one good thing that lasts a long, long time. And that can be for a fountain pen or a biro or a wallet, a man's wallet, or any item you want to name. Buy quality and it'll last. You tend to look after it more because it was expensive. It's quality, it's a beautiful thing. This is what I'm trying to promote. It's not so much the snobbery, it's the quality. Do you get what I'm saying? Well, look, the problem is this. The problem with the watch industry is this. I think if you're coming into the hobby from fresh, there's nothing wrong with, say, buying some sort of Seiko. Okay, we've all done it. We've all done the Seiko. I started off with the Seiko 5. Okay? This was when I was a kid in primary school. My dad gave me this Seiko 5. And I mean, I think you have a Seiko or whatever. Seiko's a really good brand itself there because it's easy to get into. There's a vintage market. It's a lot of cool things with it. But when it comes to slightly more expensive, I think you're better off to hold out for something like a Speedmaster or a Tudor Black Bay. I think you're better off to hold out for that, because if you buy these lesser things, that not luxury watches, but that almost luxury, you're really getting something that is worthless on the secondary market. It's kind of garbage. And the biggest thing I find sad is that so many fake people there, they promote these lesser brands. And the saddest thing is, I hate to see new people in the hobby who buy a $1,000 wristwatch, and then they discover it's worthless. Nobody wants it. It's worth $300 to a dealer. I think that's really sad that somebody enters the hobby. I think that is the bigger crime, entering the hobby and having something that has lost so much value, is worth nothing. That's the biggest crime. It's not me saying, hey, and what is my crime really? So I'm saying, well, decent watch. I kind of say the decent watch would be like a Tudor Black Bay or a Omega Speedmaster, the manual wind. What are they going to cost? A brand new one would cost about $3.5 Joma Shop. On the used market, $2.5. Is that a lot for a decent watch? And I mean, we live in the Western world. Let's be completely frank here. Okay, we live in the Western world. $2,000 to $3,000 is not impossible for anyone in the Western world. See, we've already won the lotto of life. We were born in the Western world. That's roulette wheel number one. We're sitting down with Jesus. Spin number one. We're born in the Western world. Spin number two. We're born male. Spin number three, we're born white. Ooh. Well, okay. Lottery to the Western world. I mean, this is how it is. It's like being in a big roulette wheel with Jesus there. Spin number one, you're born in the Western world, so we've won. Spin number two, let's be honest. Let's forget this feminist bullshit. It's better to be male than female, okay? It just is. It's just a better gig, okay? It's better gig, I'm sorry, okay? Spin number two, you're born male. Spin number three, if you're really fucking lucky, you're born white. Spin number four, if you're really lucky, you're born Jewish with rich parents. I mean, let's be completely frank. This is how it is. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being born in the third world, black, female, to poor parents. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's so many obstacles you've got to overcome. So, I mean, $3,000 if we're born in the Western world that's the price of a used car. Not even a good used car. So I don't buy it that it's too intimidating. I think there are sacrifices you can make to make this watch happen for you. And all you need is one. I quite respect people who just have one watch. If you can have one watch collection, oh, that's simple. In this modern age, if I just had one watch, there are many pieces that I would say would be acceptable. But I reckon a 39mm Explorer 1 would be absolutely perfect. Waterproof. It's automatic. It's a dress watch, but it's a sports watch. It's a Rolex. It defies fashion. It's an icon. It's just so cool. And I would say, you know, the other watch you would say number two would be a Speedmaster, but the Speedmaster is not automatic. The Speedmaster, so newbies in the hobby don't get it. They don't understand. Oh, you got to wind it up. They don't get this shit. They don't understand. Oh, you mean it's not waterproof? I spent all that money and I can't swim with it? No, you fucking moron. You can't swim with it. See, these morons, when they buy a 5170 Patek manual wind chronograph Patek, they've worked out, oh, this is actually a cool watch. The fact that it's manual wind is cool. You don't need to explain that to these rookie fools. Yes. Sure. The king of watches. King. That's the Mercedes-Benz of watches. Mass-produced, but amazing. Seiko. Reasonable. These are not garbage as such. There's different varieties. I think okay. They're an okay watch. Seikos are okay. Patek Philippe, that's the connoisseur's watch. That's the Rolex may be the Mercedes-Benz. Patek Philippe is the Rolls-Royce. A little bit more handcrafting in that there. Just absolutely, I love Patek Philippe. Shit! Look, the brand is a nothing brand. Absolute garbage. I mean, no real backbone there. It's a brand which really has a very sketchy history at best. It's just very cheap, nasty. There's so many better things you could get for what they're asking for their products. I think they are deceptive and very dishonest in trying to enter the luxury market with a substandard product. Very, very dishonest. Well, there's so many brands that do that, but I mean, seriously, I don't like new people to buy things and realize, hey, this was a rip-off. I think that's really bad. It's just really poor. There's a number of brands which do that, but that certainly is one of the brands I think is very dishonest, and it's very, very. I feel sorry for people who buy that, because I don't want newbies to come into the hobby and just be ripped a new one so quickly. Yeah, yeah. It's just sad. It's just sad because it's a nothing brand. It's just absolute garbage brand, really. There's nothing good about it. Sure. No. Mm. Yes. Sure. Tudor. I think fantastic brand. I love the brand. I mean, it's affordable. A lot of in-house work there. I think the Black Bay range is just amazing. Tudor, 20 years ago, they had some fucking ugly dogs. Fucking ugly dogs. They were just fucking dogs. Like the Hydronaut, and they had their Datejust equivalents with their stupid bracelets. They were fucking horrors. Tudor has really got their act together. You think of it this way: Tudor is kind of Rolex's younger, hipper brother. He gets away with things that Rolex could never do. Rolex could never have a Submariner with no crown guards again. That's just so cool. It's a bigger size. I think Tudor is a absolutely. I love Tudor. I think the Black Bay. I've got a Black Bay myself with the in-house movement. I think that's amazing bang per buck, because it's using a Rolex movement. That's what a Tudor movement is. It's a fucking Rolex movement, really. I think very good value. Very good value. And a great watch. I think you could have a Tudor and wear it with anyone else. I mean, Tudor is Tudor's a great brand. Absolute great brand, and they've got some amazing things, and they've got a tie-in with Breitling now, you know, with swapping some technologies. And I think Tudor itself is I think it's just amazing. Amazing way to start a collection or round out a collection. Because let's face it, you can't just keep buying Rolexes. Rolexes are fucking dear. I mean, $10,000 is what you're spending for decent, you know, GMTs, subs. It's hard. You can buy one. An average person can buy one if they really, 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 really try. But to have more than that is very, very hard. So I think Tudor's a great. I love the Tudor brand. Absolutely love it. Omega, look, I got to be honest with you. Disappointment. The one word for Omega is disappointment. I cannot believe how they fucked Baselworld 2018. If Baselworld went to Rolex for the Pepsi, and Omega completely fucked it. I don't know what's going on at Swatch Group. They are fucking out of their mind, because they're dumping product through the grey channel. Okay? And this is happening. You look at secondhand prices, they are fucking releasing far too many limited editions, far too many fucking special things. I think Omega should be damn well ashamed of themselves. They got to stick to what they do. You know what they should do if they really want to release something amazing? Bring out a limited edition Speedmaster with a 3-2-1 movement in it. That would be fucking amazing. Not another fucking rehab. I mean, what the fuck is the Omega 57? How is that so different to the Broad Arrow they released a few years ago? I think if you want a look of a 57, you buy a fucking Broad Arrow. That's what I'd be buying. I reckon that's bang per buck on the used market. Steel bezel, Broad Arrow hands. It's a great piece. But Omega has fucked things so much. They tried to be Rolex for so long. They had these snooty boutiques. And all I can say is, I hope they fucking wake up, because the way they're running the company is a fucking disgrace. I had such high hopes for Omega. It's very, very, very sad. It's absolute. I could never have predicted this. It's very, 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 very sad. Yeah, sure. I do. I do still have my man on the moon. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Grey market watches. Grey markets are fantastic. What's wrong with grey market? Grey market. Well, I mean, let's be honest there. Anyone who sells second-hand watches, they're a grey market dealer. It's anyone who sells watches who isn't authorized by the brand. That's a grey market dealer. Is anything wrong? We're not talking black market. Black market is stolen or counterfeit. We're talking grey market. So these are genuine pieces. They may have been released in, say, a different market and brought into another market. It's called arbitrage. It's how commerce works. It's what the opposite of communism is. And I love grey market. I think grey market is fucking amazing. You got to do your homework, certain models, you got to know your stuff. I love grey market dealers. I actually prefer grey market to the authorized ADs. I hate a lot of ADs. They're pretentious fuckers. Grey market is a great way. I support it fully. Nomus, look, okay, jokes aside, I think Nomus design excellence. I think they're an up-and-coming brand, to be honest with you. I like their very, very innovative design. Very, very, it's probably, got to be honest with you, my generation is probably, I can be cynical because I'm older. But if I was a 20-something, I think it's a perfect brand to explore. I think there's some good product there. Great future. I'd like to see how they develop things. I've said a lot of negative things because it's like I'm X generation. I can't approve of anything that the Y generation likes. It's just how it is, I'm afraid. Okay, it's the scorpion and the frog. Okay, I just can't say anything good about something that appeals to a different generation. But I think Nomos has got some excellent design there. Excellent price point. I wouldn't say I would buy all Nomoses. I think if someone was building a collection, one of them in their collection would be okay. For me, I'm not hip enough. I'm not cool enough. But some people can pull it off. Mm. 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 Yeah. Yeah, no, I think there's a great future there. They've got some interesting designs, and it's kind of cool. I think they're kind of cool. I'm just not hip enough. You understand? Yeah, yeah. Yep. Grand Seiko, I got to tell you honestly, Grand Seiko is it's a Weiss's Weiss watch, okay? And the biggest problem with Grand Seiko is you can't fucking understand the numbering system on it. I mean, this is so fucking, they don't make it simple. They use nicknames which they never use in their catalogs. You know, they fucking, like, they're just fucking hard. Grand Seiko's biggest problem is Grand Seiko. Amazing. You look at the quality. I had someone who had a Grand Seiko quartz. Okay, not my favorite genre, but you've got to hand it to her. I looked at this thing. The bracelet was fucking well done. The case was well done. It's a quality piece. You can look at it and say, is this shit or is this not shit? And you'd have to say, this is a fucking quality thing. Grand Seiko's biggest problem is Grand Seiko, because no one can understand the numbering system unless you're a real purist. I would like to get a Grand Seiko in the distant future. Okay, I don't think you can get a Grand Seiko as a first watch or a second watch. I think you have to have a few watches before you get a Grand Seiko. But I love the whole concept. I think they are amazing. The quality is top. My favorite Grand Seiko, if you said to me, which one do I really love? I love the fucking Peacock. You know, the Peacock GMT. I think that's but they're fucking expensive. They're so fucking dear. Mm. Look, I think it works both ways. I love to have it because it pisses the Swiss off. Okay. I love a lot of things. I don't know. I've been to Japan a number of times, and once you've been to Japan, you think, fuck, these people are very, very, very clever, amazing people. I had a Japanese wife as well, and I think the thing about the Grand Seiko is it's a brand you just don't just go into. You've got to do your homework, and then you come to it later on as an appreciation for what it is. It's not a show-off brand. It's like a Hyundai Genesis, okay? You know, it is an amazing thing. It is good value compared, but I would actually like to get one. I really would love to get a Grand Seiko. I love the Peacock, as I said, but they're fucking dear. I love the Snowflake. That's an amazing story. Great story there. I love the High Beat. There's so many Grand Seikos I really do like. I'd like to get one in the future. Sure. Look, I'm very cynical. You know, anything made in China and that there, I kind of I get swamped with people wanting me to promote this sort of garbage all the time, and I think realistically, I don't think it. I think a lot of these no-name brands and that I get very cynical. I'm very cynical of Brumont. Okay, that's a brand which I think it's too rich, spoiled kids who fucking decided to make watches, and I'm not a huge fan of that concept. I think anything new, I personally would put money into. I've always said put money into icons, buy the iconic models. That way, that's what people want. I recently bought a Tag Heuer. I bought a Tag Heuer. It's a Monaco. Okay, so I wanted the caliber 11. I didn't want the caliber 12. I wanted the caliber 11. Okay, it's using a Sellita movement. Okay, granted, but it's unique. This was one of the first automatic chronographs of the time. This is a reissue, of course. It's not the, you know, I'd love an original, but they're very fragile and they're very expensive. But I got to tell you, there's something about it's an icon. Whether you like it or not, it's just such a cool 2-reg chrono. It's a beautiful thing. And I think in many ways there, it's kind of, buy the icons. You can't go wrong. That's always a good idea. Buy the iconic watches. Buy the Omega Speedmaster. Buy the Rolex Sub. You got to buy the icons because they'll always be wanted. That's more chance of them being wanted in the future, as opposed to fashion things which come and go, styles come and go.
So, Archie, you're a lover of luxury. You spend a lot of money on watches. How do you are you all full-time YouTube, or do you have other ways to make money? What are you doing right now to support all the watches?
I am full-time on YouTube. I am a full-time YouTuber. And at the moment, I've got 10. I've actually changed packs. About 18 months ago, I had 4. And then I had an epiphany where I realized watches make me happy. And I wanted to buy watches. And I set a few rules. One of the rules was 1 brand per watch. So I only have one Tudor, one IWC, one Omega, one Rolex. And that's kind of kept me on the straight and narrow, because otherwise I'd go insane. So one per brand. You've really got to think about which model do you like. So yes, I am full-time on YouTube. That is correct, full-time. Obviously I sell blood, plasma, and some experimental medical work I do as well. I'm working on a hair loss cure for a pharmaceutical company. Well, you just get paid to test chemicals. I mean, they give you a dosage. You don't know if it's the placebo or not. So, yeah, we got. Yeah, I've got Patreon supporters as well. And I've also got, I do paid reviews. Which I'm a little bit behind at the moment. But I do paid reviews for people. I live fairly modestly. I drive a Honda Civic. Okay. I couldn't afford the Accord. Okay. I got a Honda Civic. Look, cars don't go up. Watches, we can retain your value there. So I got 10 watches at the moment, 10 men's watches. Plus I've got a few ladies in circulation, because I'm between girls at the moment. So if I'm going out with a girl, I say, look, could you please put this on for me? And then when the date finishes, of course, you please give it back. Sure. Oh, well, you know, the love life. Well, you know, I do a little bit of escort work as well. Okay. So when I was in Hong Kong, I had a small gig. If you look at my Ritz-Carlton video, you can see that. Yeah, it's okay. A bit of play for play. Pay for play is always good. And well, you know, you need to have some relief. You need some relief. We're men. We need relief occasionally, don't you? You know. So, you know, I don't mind. I don't mind. Look, I think realistically, at this stage now in the game, I don't think marriage is really working for me. 3 marriages and about half a dozen, about 30 affairs. 30 affairs. And it just hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked. Eventually, you got to say to yourself, hey, maybe it's not them. Maybe it's me. Okay? The common denominator. I don't know. But it's just, you know, you got to work it out at the end of the day. Something's not working. Okay, I'm just going to cut this video now because it's getting a little bit big. So just hang on 1 minute.